Okay, 30-second board, hot topics in the sport. Well, the big one is ruts. I think the riders and the mechanics and the teams, maybe even the fans, JT, are tired of these muddy or muddy-ish races. I don't care. I think it's led to phenomenal action. You want separation and not everyone can do the same thing and strategy? We had it at Seattle. It was a perfect race to me. It came down to half second. What's not to love?
Yeah, I think it's really challenging for these riders, and on a track that's not very difficult. Everybody's doing the same thing. I can almost guarantee you that Jett Lawrence is not going to be able to make up a second half or 2 seconds a lap, right? So to me, when you're talking about the highest form of off-road motorcycle racing in the world that we have, I'm okay with really difficult, challenging, demanding racetracks. You know, do we need it every single weekend? No. Thankfully, we're going to have a great racetrack upcoming. But I really think it adds to a championship at this level. And speaking of a championship at this level, Seattle was a home race for Levi Kitchen. That's really where the question is. Is this a turning point for Levi Kitchen? Is he now the guy? Or was this just, similar conditions to what he grew up on, kind of riding the wave of momentum from all his friends and family there? I ask you, Leach, who is this Levi Kitchen? He's the guy that's going to run away with the championship, or was this just a product of his environment?
I think this is a little bit larger of a gain. I think, let's say, out of the 100% massive gap that he had, I'd say maybe half of it came from special circumstances. I do believe Kitchen, because he's so still new, it's only his second really full Supercross season, he does have room to grow, and maybe he did over that 6 weeks. But I think you cannot count out the home crowd. That was amazing. And did you get a little bit of intel from the RJ Hampshire camp? Again, not an excuse that Hampshire didn't win, but another little advantage that Kitchen had.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where they're looking for every little percentage point of difference that they can. And RJ Hampshire found a little move that Pro Circuit made there. They just made a cut to a tire, and all that does is give more grip. And what you're doing is expanding the pattern a little bit. So that's going to grab a little bit more dirt every time that tire turns over, and it helps on the starts. It gives you better forward drive, because RJ was like, I can't get the start with him. I can't do the jumps as easily as he's doing. There's something going on. So he went back and looked at everything, pictures, video, and he had found that Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki had made a modification to the rear tire. And was it the difference between winning and losing? He would say arguably not. But it's those little things that, sometimes winning is in the margins, and going down the stretch, RJ knows that they have to grab every little advantage that they can.
Yeah, so that's it. I don't think that we're in for 21-second victories. I think some of that was Seattle, maybe a little bit the tire. Was Kitchen the best guy? Yes. Could he still be the best guy in the West? Yes. But I don't think by this margin. And if you look at the 250 West points, hey, the second place is fine for RJ Hampshire. He's only 8 down. There's plenty of racing left. Even some East-West showdowns. The biggest loser here, unfortunately, is Jordan Smith. I think everybody saw those crashes. He's going to need some luck to get back into this one. So, I think there's plenty still to play for. And although maybe Kitchen has flipped it from the second best guy to RJ, and maybe he's now the best guy, I think it's still a small enough gap where we're into some great racing. So that's 250 West moving forward. Well, they got to be a little scared, I guess, with how good Kitchen was. Let's move to the 450 class from Seattle. It was a battle for the ages, although Cooper Webb has a way of doing this. He never wins races by huge margins. I just want to go to the moment there where Jett's finally, he's not catching them. He's out of it. Too many mistakes, too many errors. And then it comes down to this, Sexton versus Webb. And JT, they both knew how important this win would be.
Yeah, when there's wins in the offering like there was this weekend, and they know where kind of Jett's trajectory is headed, they know how good he's gotten and how quickly that's happened, they know they have to win. That 6-point swing between getting first and second is huge when you're getting late into the series here. And you could see it was indicative of their effort. They were both pushing the envelope everywhere on a very tricky racetrack. And they're two veterans, past champions, duking it out. And will they end up winning the championship? Who knows? But when it's nights like this and it's down to the wire, these are the kind of races you look back and sometimes championships are decided. And in battles like this, you're trying to look who has the advantage, why, how, where are they finding time to me, the sand was really the story. And if you look at the approach that Chase Sexton was making versus Jett Lawrence and Cooper Webb, it kind of changed throughout the night because the line, you see Cooper Webb jumping there, that was clearly the quicker line, but that went away. They were unable to continue doing that. And then Cooper Webb started dropping into this hole where Chase Sexton started doubling into the hole. And what I found so interesting is that Chase in the press conference mentioned that was his edge, jumping into that hole, but he didn't have the benefit of going back and watching the tape. He didn't know those guys were jumping the sand wall yet. So I think when he went back and watched the tape, he'd be like, oh, I was losing tons of time there. But then in the end, he almost made the pass for the lead by going his line. So it's a fluid dynamic, but it speaks to one line can be all the difference in winning and losing in this class.
It speaks to why this track was awesome. Yes, at one point, Webb was way better than Sexton in the sand. Then the line to jump on top of that wall went away, and then Sexton actually ended up being better than Webb in the second half. Webb said, I didn't have a plan B. Once the jump line went away, I didn't know what to do. I think that's awesome to have that kind of a chess match at speed between two riders who have won a lot of races. So that was actually pretty cool to watch. And the rhythm sections kind of had their own version of that going. It was really compelling racing. We can look at the points here. I don't know. We could talk 16 points. We could talk Sexton got it back within one race on Jett. Jeff Emig, former champion of this series, used to say, I'll take momentum over points any day. I feel like they've got to find a way to beat this kid one way or another. The points, it doesn't matter if you're down 6 points, 16, or 66. If you can't beat them consistently, you're in trouble. That's my take when I look at these standings right here.
Yeah, they know they still have a problem. For Cooper Webb, he can see Jett Lawrence coming. Chase Sexton could see Jett Lawrence catching both of them. So he reinforced the fact that he could go faster than them. This was not a surprise as he's closing down on them. So yes, I think they're very happy to, Cooper Webb's happy to get the win, but they know the underlying problem is still there. They still need to be faster because there's a lot of racing left, and they have a big deficit to make up on a guy that is consistently going much quicker than them week in and week out. And moving into St. Louis, they're going to have to do it over the course of 3 races, right? And you could look at Triple Crowns have been difficult for Jett in the past, but how can you say that anymore after he swept all 3 races in Indianapolis? So yes, I think, there's a chance that maybe things go wrong, but I really think that Jett kind of put the nail in the coffin in Indy on all of that conversation.
He did. I think the only thing they can count on now is, look, they're going to have to hope for chaos. They're going to have to hope. Beating him straight up, speed-wise, probably not going to happen. So you got to hope for chaos. And what do the riders always say? They don't even like Triple Crowns because 3 starts is more risks than a typical heat race main event night. But it's only 2 starts, and you have everyone against each other every time, which isn't the case of a heat. So I think at this point, you're like, maybe there's a first turn crash, spokes go into a foot peg, anything chaotic. Maybe that's what the Triple Crown breeds. Sometimes that's how titles are won and lost, fair or unfair as well. One other rider I want to mention, I was mentioning heat races. So Hunter Lawrence, it's really funny. He had 2 wins on the weekend going into the main event in Seattle. There was a pretty funny thing where they got on these Honda Moto Compacto. They're suitcase-sized motorized bikes. He beat the Seattle Seahawks mascot. Then he wins his heat race. It looked like he was beaming on the podium when he won this heat race. But then, JT, I saw him after the main when he got 7th. No more beaming. Not pumped on the heat. Unless I think he's on the podium, Hunter Lawrence is not going to be happy. That's where he expects to be. Yeah, he's happy after the heat, but that didn't last.
Yeah, I think he knows he's in a process of learning and finding his place amongst the 450 elite. Great. He won a heat race. He beat the likes of Eli Tomac. Ken Roczen had issues. It was a great race for him. I think a great step. But remember, he's racing through an injury. He's not 100%. I would bet he can't train and practice during the week the way he would like to. So it is a rookie season, and all of the issues that typically plague rookies are plaguing Hunter. Inconsistency, bad starts, crashes, injuries. So I do think it was a milestone. Getting that first heat win had to feel good, but then, a little bit of reality set back in during the main event. But the key thing is that he's healthy, didn't have a setback, and he can go into to St. Louis building from that heat race momentum and just a little bit more confidence. And speaking of confidence, we saw a rider come back to Seattle that we have not seen since Hangtown of 2023 in Michael Mosiman. He joined the Monster Yamaha Star Racing team. This guy's a character. to see him go out and qualify quickest, okay, yes, the track was in his favor. It wasn't rutted yet, but I don't care. He was in the mix all day, all night. We haven't seen him in a very long time. So welcome back to racing, Michael Mosiman.
6th place. And when you look at how stacked that 250 West field is, he was in a dogfight, a battle the whole time. He didn't drop anchor. Didn't look like he got super duper tired like often would happen, or even arm pump, especially on a track like that. We all know Michael Mosiman can go fast. That's never been the problem. I didn't expect that kind of staying power in his very first race. And now you got to start thinking podium, win before the year is out, because he's in for the rest of these Supercross races and Pro Motocross. Could really be a diamond in the rough. That Star Racing has found bringing Mosiman back into the character part. Yeah, he's something else. I'll just put it that way, fans. One extra point here that's dangling in front of the Pro Motocross and the playoffs is the future for Eli Tomac. Now, last year around this time, he said, I will be racing Pro Motocross. Then he got hurt and didn't get to do it. With each subpar, I think is the term I would use, ride for Eli, the vultures start circulating. Is he going to retire? He's a proud champion. He's not winning races. I think you and I are starting to hear the opposite. I don't know about motocross or SMX this year, but we're starting to hear, I think, he might not be thinking about retirement as soon as some people think he might be.
Yeah, I think he's coming back. I don't have hard evidence to back that up. I look at the situation, and if you go back to the offseason, I was talking about this. He's coming in late. I don't think he's going to be fully prepared. He's going to be on the back foot when we roll into Anaheim, and it's really hard to get out from behind the 8 ball when you start there. I think he's going to want another full shot at it, come into the offseason healthy, be fully prepared. And if he loses again in 2025, so be it. But it will be at full strength, and it will be his best effort. So that's kind of how I see it. I'm prepared to be wrong. I think the sport will be better for it. And I really think in his heart of hearts, he believes he can still be that guy again if he's given the opportunity to fully prepare. So let's hope that the future holds Eli Tomac in it.
And St. Louis has a special place in Supercross lore. Okay, the stadium doesn't even hold an NFL team anymore. Maybe it's not the most regal stadium that we go to, but the riders don't care, JT, and you know why. They love St. Louis because they love that dirt.
Yeah, St. Louis boasts arguably the best dirt of the series. And the reason for that is they love the traction that it offers, similar to Indianapolis, but it doesn't have that deterioration, especially when we get, if this was a February round, you'd see a softer version of St. Louis, but when you get into March, sometimes April, it's a little bit firmer, but it retains that traction level that all these guys are looking for. They can be really aggressive. They can use a more aggressive tire here. And that, that bleeds through. You'll see guys with smiles on their faces on track walk because it just is one of the favorite rounds based on the dirt. Now, that could all change depending on the track map. I got a chance to study it just this very morning, and I think it's going to offer some opportunities. The rhythm sections, everything, plays out the way you'd want it to on a football-based stadium. The St. Louis Rams used to play here, but this is the preferred version of a track for the riders. They love the long rhythms. They love the 180-degree turns that are on offering that gives them more opportunities to pass. So you're still going to have that short whoop section that kind of spans the width of the stadium there on the left of the screen. But overall, I think these are tracks that the riders really look forward to.
Also, one other thing, St. Louis has indoor pits, kind of like we saw in Seattle. I don't know what goes on there. These people are rabid. It might be the most packed, jammed, fired up group of fans that you'll see in the pits at any Supercross all year. Plus, we don't race here every year anymore. So, there's some pent up demand. So between the dirt, the Triple Crown format, and those indoor pits where the fans are going to be trying to get all their autographs, it should be a pretty electric weekend on Saturday. Okay, we're going to wrap this show up and head to St. Louis. Again, Triple Crown format. That means that the last chance qualifiers will take place as part of Race Day Live, our qualifying show. And that starts at 1:30 Eastern, of course, on Peacock and the SMX Video Pass outside the United States. And they're the same host for the racing that begins at 7 Eastern from St. Louis.
Hi, folks. Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.